This is the Franchise QB Podcast, where we empower entrepreneurs to win big in franchising. We huddle up weekly to educate our audience about the most successful small business model ever created, franchising.
Welcome to the Franchise QB Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Halpern, a 20-year industry veteran and entrepreneur. My mission is for listeners to achieve their American dreams of creating wealth and independence through franchise ownership. Every week, we speak with franchisees, franchisors, or vendors that support the industry. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started.
Joining us in the huddle today is Jeff Helfgott, CEO of Boardroom Salon for Men. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. And it's also great to have a fellow JMU Duke on the show. You and I both went to the same undergraduate, and I graduated from the College of Business the year you started. So I'm much, much older than you are, but it's good to have another fellow Duke on that.
I think we're both from the genre and time frame where Anthony's Pizza was the hottest on markets.
Yeah,
Not too far apart.
absolutely. Well, so for the past 11 years, you've been scaling personal care and fitness brands into massive multi-unit companies. Jeff, tell us a little bit about your background and how you discovered the franchising space.
My background, I started out, like many of people on your podcast, was an entrepreneur. I had a web development startup of my own where I was doing HTML coding and website development for local businesses where I grew up in Connecticut. And I thought that would be my path, entrepreneurship through technology. And then when I was at James Madison, I took ROTC as an elective and ended up having just a great experience. Loved the people there. So I joined the Army out of college, thought that I'd be doing that forever. And life had other plans. So, when I was transitioning out of the military, at the advice of a great mentor, I had a letter of recommendation that got me into a great business school. And from there, it kind of launched my foray into private equity-backed businesses on the portfolio company side. My first was a Planet Fitness franchise. At the time, we had 16 locations based out of the Austin market. We grew it to over 92 locations before a successful exit, and we were able to take care of a lot of our frontline managers by giving equity down to that front line, and it was life-changing for tremendous people. And I think that taught me two things. One, you can run an incredibly profitable business by following your values and taking care of your employees. And two, it taught me I was ready for the top chair. At that point, I had been the COO for a number of years, including leading through COVID. And I was really excited to take all those lessons learned into other private equity-backed businesses. So this is my second at bat as a CEO of a private equity-backed business. And Boardroom has been an absolute dream to be building so far.
That's awesome. Well, first, thank you for your service to our country with the Army. That's great. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I know leadership plays a big role in the military. How has serving in the Army and working across these private equity-backed brands that you referenced across multiple industries kind of shape the way that you lead teams and grow your business today, for example, with Boardroom?
It's more similar than you might think. There's a difference between board meetings and bullets, but the stakes are obviously very different, but the mindset is very similar. With both the military and private equity-backed companies, you have a mission that is top of mind. And for many people, you are defined by the results that you drive. In the military, you have to invest in your people before the mission in order to get there. In private equity, you have to invest in the right people that will help you get to the level you're at. In both scenarios, you spend a lot of time developing people, and then you have to decide, are they able to move at the pace that the mission needs you to? And I think that's been one of the tremendous learnings is in the business world, you can spend a lot of time coaching people, but at some point you have to determine, are they able to do the mission that you need them to do in the time that we have allotted? Or do you have to help them understand that they're not meeting the expectations of the business at the size that it's at and the velocity that you want to move? So I think having that experience early in my career where you are so focused in your people and the military grants you a lot of training time. But when you're on a deployment, when you're on mission, training's over. You got to go. And if you don't have the right team around you, you're putting the other people around you at risk. That translates very well to a private equity-backed business.
Yeah, makes sense. And it's really interesting, your background, because, coming from the operations side as a COO, then moving into the top seat as CEO, especially when you talk about Planet Fitness. I mean, that's a major brand. I mean, a multi-million-dollar big box investment, and you got there with fewer than 20 locations. You exited with close to 100. I mean, that's a pretty good roadmap for what you guys are doing over at Boardroom. So how do you grow multi-unit franchise businesses, but protect the culture, the guest experience, the values, kind of the essence that made the brand successful in the first place?
Yeah, what's fun about this turn is I'm on the franchisor side of the table. So not only am I responsible for setting the brand, but I'm also responsible for setting the culture of the brand through the franchisees that we bring on board. And that's why this year, my goal is only 3 to 5 new franchisees to the system. I want to make sure that we're bringing on the right people who have the right mindset and are well capitalized enough to reach our potential in each of these markets, people who will be additive to the brand. And where I've seen a lot of other franchise concepts stumble is they sell more licenses than their ability to service them. And
Hmm.
like all people and brands, like there are growing pains and you skin your knees along the way. And I would rather do it with fewer people at the table. I'm very fortunate that we are private equity backed, but it's patient capital and they are giving me a lot of rope to grow at the speed that I think is appropriate. So my job is to protect the brand and grow it. The best way I do that is being selected by the people that are supporting me at the corporate side, but also from the franchisees that we invite to grow with us.
Yeah, it's all about picking the right franchisees. And I'd imagine in your model, because it's a higher capital investment to build it out, you want to get well capitalized owners that are focused on building out a market. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, let's kind of pivot to the brand itself. So, Boardroom, let's discuss the opportunity in the men's grooming franchise category overall. And how has Boardroom's membership model driven repeat visits, loyalty, better unit economics?
Men's grooming is an exceptionally exciting business to be in right now. When you and I were going through college, a guy that cared about his looks was called metrosexual. That was not that was not complimentary, right?
Right.
But these days, you go on TikTok and they have things like look maxing and Brotox.
Hmm.
Self care and investing in your appearance, that has become much more accepted within the male community than it was when you and I were younger. So I think that's a
100%, Jeff. In fact, if I can interject, my 19-year-old is home from college and he found his barber on Instagram because he's rented out this like space and he's got followers and he was very happy with the result. But I was just like, wow, that's crazy. You're just going to go find the stranger in this place and that's where you're going to get it done. And he was very happy with the outcome and the whole process. And you post it. And yeah, so it's a brave new world.
Yeah, and I think that a couple differences there. One, his focus on it is probably different from our focuses. Like I remember having clippers parties, in college where we'd take turns kind of trimming our hair down on our front lawn, maybe with a Coors Light in hand. And these days, like people like your son are searching out who are the highest quality people that can help me feel more confident in my aesthetic. Like that's one major change. The second is the channel in which they're doing it. Obviously LLMs are making it a big push and people are just asking questions and looking for the answer rather than looking for search results. So finding a brand that is well positioned for that. Fortunately, Boardroom is very well positioned for that as our premium environment. So I think that's a big change from what brands were used to even 2 to 3 years ago. And they're
Yeah.
also with
Can you
the
talk a little bit about the membership model? I'm curious. It sounds like it's really sticky. Once you get in there and you get your membership, you probably go pretty frequently, not just for your monthly haircut or your 3-week haircut, but for other services as well.
Yeah, that was one of the major changes when I came on board. The idea of building a ritual and a routine is very important for high performers. And you hear this all the time with athletes. Like, I get ready. Or Jeter used to have the same way of adjusting his batting gloves every time he stepped into the batter's box. And that pattern, that muscle memory allowed him to be successful because he was taking things off of his mind and instead allowing all the practice and the reps to take over. That's why, Steph Curry is always practicing his threes. So I look at this as the same way as how can we earn a right to be part of high performing men's routine? And the frequency of, maintaining their appearance is a big part of that. So we rolled out a monthly membership program that offers one haircut a month on a subscription. If they don't get a chance to use the credit that month because they're at a wedding in the Hamptons or they're traveling to Greece with their family, those credits accrue. And we actually do not expire them for more than 3 months after they cancel. So they have 90 days plus after they're no longer an active member with us to come back in and reestablish their ritual with us. Because what we found is most men cancel when their stylist or barber moves and they want to follow them somewhere else. This
Yeah.
allows us the opportunity to say, hey, you already have these credits built up. understand your preferred stylist has left. Well, why don't you give someone else a try for a couple months? You don't have to pay us anything. Use up these credits. And then if we haven't earned your loyalty with someone else, then, best of luck. But it gives us another couple at bats to win back their loyalty.
Yeah, I like it.
That's been tremendous.
Smart. It's a good retention program. And, it's funny you mentioned the rituals, the routines. I just watched that Netflix special on Rafa. I'm a big tennis nerd and I love all things tennis. And everyone knows all the strange things he does when he like sets up to hit his serve. And he was like, look, it gives me confidence. It allows me to do the same thing and I have control. That control is what he's seeking. Because in tennis, you can't control what happens when the ball's on the other side of the net, but you can control how it starts through the ritual. And I like the idea of kind of conditioning your consumers. Hey, if you really like what we're doing at Boardroom, make this part of your routine and for like turnkey, holistic, personal care and not just the haircut.
It's resonating. We found that our monthly retention is frankly better than Netflix's. We're at about a 97.1% monthly retention with these members. So clearly the program seems to be working and our franchisees have certainly benefited from the economics of it as well.
Yeah. So Jeff, I know Boardroom's been around for a while and recently has relaunched the franchise program. It's been about a decade. How has the brand like rebooted and started to focus, like you mentioned, with intentional growth with the right partners?
Yeah, like I think one thing that I love about your podcast and the audience is, you have people who are so passionate and experienced about franchising. Like Mike, I think you have forgotten more about franchising than I know. I've been in the game for a little bit, so I'm always humbled to have these conversations with people who know so much.
Well, I appreciate the compliment.
And one thing that I've learned from this is franchisees want conviction that the system that they're investing their net worth and their reputation is going to be a good investment of their time, their relationship capital, and then their actual financial capital at the end of that, probably in that priority. When you get someone that ties their local reputation, their net worth to a brand, like they want it to matter. So I want to make sure that we're in a position to deliver on our end of the promise before we started selling franchises. So I took over in January of 24. We spent a lot of time focused on unit economics. We did value engineering exercise to make sure that our build costs were down where we could get a 3-year payback on new builds. And once we got those unit economics to the spot where we were comfortable, now we want to make sure that our support team is in a position to deliver on those new franchisees. So I looked at our team, I looked at the capabilities, I looked at our ability to assess who is the right fit. In 3 to 5, that's how that became our target for this year.
Yeah. No, it's smart because, leveraging your experience with Planet Fitness, for example, Boardroom has 2 phases, right? There's the construction phase and the project management phase, getting the right piece of real estate, building it out, making sure you're on time, on budget. And then there's pre-sales and there's staffing it and all that. So they're almost 2 separate things that have to be executed flawlessly for a great launch and then ongoing success for the owner. So let's talk a little bit about kind of where you guys are in terms of how many units are open and operating. I know you mentioned a slow and steady intentional growth here in the first couple of years out of the gate, refranchising the brand. And where are you guys going? I think Nashville is one of your expansion markets.
Yeah, we actually just had a press release hit yesterday. So thank you for mentioning that. One of our existing franchisees, Guy Gonzalez, great operator, had 4 locations with us, and he just acquired our 2 Tennessee locations. It's a place that he spent a lot of time early in his, he knows a lot about, and he sees the potential that from a corporate store perspective, we just weren't prepared to capitalize on in the speed at which he can. So he's committed to build another couple locations over the next 3 years. And as we speak, he's actually touring the market and spending more time with the teams, so with some from my franchise support team. So we're tremendously excited to see that market reach its potential. Boardroom is an elevated brand. We're not going to be on every corner. We're not going to be in every zip code. So finding the place where we are convenient for the routine that we are looking to build with our clients and members, that takes some time. And what's equally important is building the relationships in the community where we earn the right to be their provider of choice. And that's what I love about franchisees. They will spend that time. They will invest in being part of the car club, of the country club. They will spend the time that it takes to build the relationships to be successful.
Yeah. It's great that you have corporate resale opportunities. I know that they're not infinite, but it's nice where a franchise owner like that can step into an existing operating business, make the acquisition with the commitment to build more in the marketplace, kind of a win-win for the franchisor as well as the new owner.
It's been a great fit for us. And I think one really important part of our strategy is maintaining some corporate stores. We have great density of corporate stores in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. It's very important to me that a franchisor has some skin in the game by running their own operations. So we will continue to maintain corporate stores in Texas. If we could find great partners in emerging markets outside of Texas to take over some of our corporate stores, we'd love to have those conversations.
Yeah, sounds
But
great.
it's really important that we keep that core.
So right now the system's at about 40 locations, give or take?
We are at 46 now for Boardroom.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome. Very cool. So for someone that's listening that's interested in getting into the men's grooming space and wants to focus on Boardroom, what's it cost to get in? What's the item 7 look like? I know it's going to vary depending on footprint and, the condition of the space, but what's our guidance there?
Yeah, we're generally saying $500,000 to about 750. But
Okay.
that's without factoring in TI or any debt. We feel it's really important to look at this from a clean sheet of paper. I've seen some other item 7s that decrease that cost by anticipated TI, and which I think it makes it harder to compare. We want to be completely transparent about what is the most conservative view of building. And there are plenty of ways to get creative. We spend a lot of time in that value engineering exercise. I think our sweet spot is 12 to 100 or 1,400 square feet. You start building bigger than that, I want to make sure that you're going to be in a place that has the revenue in order to substantiate that type of investment. Last thing I want is our FDD to go backwards in AUV.
Yeah.
So that's part of where we're trying to be really mindful of helping our franchisees pick the dots on the map that are most likely to be successful.
Yeah. Plus, when you go into those smaller footprints, it opens up more inventory for real estate placements, which makes it easier for the franchisee to find a space and get open more quickly so they don't have to wait 2 years to be in business. And let's talk item 19. Everyone wants to know what the earnings potential looks like. So what's the guidance there in the FDD?
It's been a strong couple of years for us. We are over $1 million in AUV. We do not have one unprofitable location. And we actually,
Short and sweet, says it all.
It's nice to say our EBITDA margin average is over 20%, and we actually publish all of those locations in our FDD. Again, we are looking at people who are going to sign a franchise agreement, which means we are business partners for at least 10 years, hopefully more. We want to make sure that we are completely transparent about where we are strong and where we are looking to grow, and why strong franchisees can help us become an even better franchisor if we find the right ones. But that all starts with transparency and trust. And we've reflected that in the way we've built our FDD.
Yeah, that's the next question I was going to ask is, who is your ideal partner? Is there a certain kind of avatar that you look for? I know they come from different walks of life and different industry backgrounds, but is there a specific kind of person or group you're looking for to kind of build those 3 to 5 units in a market?
Their own personal set of core values is hugely important, and making sure they align generally to that of our brand and our other franchisees. We all believe firmly in community. Some do that through local engagement, some do that through their churches, but everyone in our system finds community to be hyper important to them. To me, stuff like integrity, that should be table stakes, but also a willingness to invest in relationships like that. Absolutely. We are in a relationship business. Our job is to help men relax, look great, and feel confident. Part of that confidence knows that they're going into a business that they will have a great experience with a team that they enjoy. So finding an owner that has that relationship mindset is hyper important to us. So, community integrity, relationship focus, like those are something that I think would be a straight line between everyone that we have in our system. What's their background? I love people that have had some background in sales. I think you learn to make the ask and you learn when to give and when to take. I think that's great in a customer oriented business. But, whether your background is, you're a mumbo that's got a bunch of other brands under your belt and you're looking for the next one that's recession resistant, AI proof, et cetera, in a K-shaped economy, premium brands are doing very well. Right now we're up about 13% in revenue year to date from a same store sales perspective. That shows that even in times of inflation, you can be doing exceptionally well if you're providing that experience that people are willing to invest in. So, we love the more sophisticated people. We also love people that are saying, I am a tremendously successful individual and I'm tired of building value for other people. I want to build it for myself. Folk like that.
Something I hear almost every day, and looks like a really good fit for boardrooms. And Jeff, this has been great. Anything else you want to add to the mix before we wrap up today?
I have never seen an opportunity in all the brands that I have worked with, from Planet Fitness, European Wax, Alamo Draft House. I was in the med spa industry, all exceptionally hot industries. I've never seen one as compelling as Men's Group. And that's why I left other opportunities that have been put in front of me. If you're a private equity CEO that has a successful exit, you have tremendous options that are placed in front of you. I picked Boardroom because of the opportunity. Men's grooming is a growth industry. Again, I'm not worried about recessions or AI. This is a place that will continue to be strong. But the biggest challenge is finding the right people to be building this with. So if that sounds like something that's exciting to you, I'd love to have that conversation.
Sounds like a fantastic opportunity. And Jeff, thanks so much for your time. And if anyone listening would like to connect with Jeff and his team to learn more about becoming a franchise owner with Boardroom Salon for Men, contact me at franchiseqb.com and I'll get you connected. Thank you so much, Jeff, for taking the time to get in the huddle with us today.
Thanks for hosting.
You got it.
Thank you for listening to the Franchise QB podcast, where you're at the helm of your future as a franchise owner. If you enjoyed the content, please rate the show and recommend it to anyone that might be interested in franchising. Make sure to visit franchiseqb.com to subscribe to my newsletter and for an actionable playbook to go from walk-on to legend in your new business. Follow us on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB and join us every week for a new episode. See you next time.
Visit franchiseqb.com to take the next step of your journey towards wealth, independence, and franchise ownership. And remember, when working for the man gets old, you must do something bold. Thank you for listening.